God, people should be running up and, come on. Just kidding.
We are live, but Joe is over here chatting up everybody, as you know. We are so excited today as you're joining in. We are not going to be on camera, although if you look at our live from yesterday, we gave you all the updates. So please look at that another time. But we are so excited today to be blessed with our friend, our community member, and the great Holly Mitchell, who is currently running for the LA County Supervisor position, who has blessed us to be here in our cafe, sitting in front of our Hustle Studio mural by Muhammad Mubarak. And I'm going to put the camera back on her.
I got to say peace.
Okay, Joe's saying peace. Joe's on his way out.
I just want to show my face, you guys. Bye. Now you see this beautiful face.
All right, wait, hold on. I zoomed in on Holly. You jump back in there. All right, there's Joe, there's Holly. All right. So you guys that are watching live, as you join in, I have a few questions that I already have prepped to ask Holly about. But if you have questions, let them go in the comment box and we'll ask Holly as we go. She's enjoying a mango smoothie right there.
Giving me life. I don't want to ask how many.
Stop talking about the calories.
Because it's so rich and divine and good. And we are socially distanced. So
we are socially distanced, yes.
So I can enjoy my...
Yeah, just so everybody knows, yes, already questions are coming up about the mall, which was one of the questions I was going to ask you about. But before we jump into it, thank you for telling us in the comments, you guys. So keep telling us in the comments what you want to ask. But before we jump into that, I just want to welcome Holly. I want to welcome all of our community members who are tuning in live or watching this at a later date. And they're saying they want to come over and get that mango smoothie.
You should. It's divine.
Please show Holly lots of love in the comments. She is a beautiful, beautiful person who we love very much, and we're so grateful to be with her today. She's been supporting us from day one, which, believe it or not, is only 10 months ago. But yes, okay, people are saying please come out to stand in person with them at the protest or the demonstration on the mall. I'm just going to go ahead and jump in on that one because that was one of my final questions, but it seems like that's an important question. I was very excited to see that you have endorsed, if I'm saying this correctly, the community ownership proposal for the mall. Joe and I have been helping behind the scenes with the Downtown Crenshaw movement. And for people who are just tuning in, and I know you'll probably speak to it, you know, we have this beautiful mall that has been a part of our community all these years. There's a lot of different things that have been discussed about doing with it. And I know in the last several years, there's been a lot of different people talking about buying the mall. As we've gotten closer and closer to figuring out who these people are, most of the time it has been people who do not have good intentions, people that actually seem to be connected with Trump, Jared Kushner and groups like that. And I know that just in the last several years, we've had a local or upswell of community leaders wanting to be involved in keeping ownership of the mall for the people that live in the neighborhood. And so the Downtown Crenshaw movement is one of those groups, and they're part of what we're affiliated with. And just we'll start right off there. What are your thoughts about the mall? If it's too loud in the background, can you guys hear us? Because we're still at the cafe, so they're making smoothies, I guess, over there. What are your thoughts, Holly?
So first of all, I appreciate you inviting me, and I can't tell you how proud I am of you all. I think we first met. You had just opened because it was last December. And you catered breakfast for me that I hosted for all of the support staff and security staff at Expo Park, where my district office is. So I'm a regular. Today's my first smoothie. You get hot tea. But I'm so proud that you're in the community and all of the work that you all are doing to support the community during this difficult time. So we tip my hat.
Thank you.
You know, I'm surprised. A sister stopped me. I was at an event at Crenshaw YMCA yesterday. She flagged me down, Holly, and asked me my position, and it just surprised me because I assumed that anybody who knows me, who follows me, who knows the work I do, would not question whether or not I would be supportive of this community-based groundswell movement. Of course I'm supportive. Just because you don't see me at a rally doesn't mean I don't support the notion that we do not want to repeat of Santa Barbara Plaza, which is what I said on KPCC the other night. We do not want valuable real estate in our community sitting dormant for 10 years while people fight. You know, when the elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers, African proverb. And I absolutely support community level ownership and engagement. We have to have a voice in terms of what's built and what is grown in our community. Like you, I am concerned about the business interests, but we shouldn't be surprised.
Right.
It's those interests who have the capital and the resources to make purchases of that magnitude. We shouldn't be surprised. So I'm very supportive. You know, I'm hearing, you know, two ends of the argument from constituents calling into my office. Some who, you know, want to question, you know, leadership. What I'm clear about is this is a movement of the people.
Amen.
And it's not about who's at the head of the organization or who not. It is a movement, and I'm hearing from constituents consistently about wanting to have a say in what will be there.
Absolutely.
Wanting to have ownership. Whether or not we're going to be able to compete with the elephants who've got the resources, I don't know. I'm hoping that plans can be put together that will make the community purchase competitive. That absolutely is my hope. If it is not, the fight doesn't end from my perspective. We have to continue to be at the table negotiating in terms of what will ultimately become of that prime real estate, historic real estate in our community.
Absolutely.
I feel that deeply.
And just so you know, or you may already know, and people are saying in the comments, we did put in an offer and a bid, a legitimate offer and a bid. It was rejected. And yet we have some of the best architects. We have 2 Black billionaires that have committed their funds. So we have funding, we have teams, we have all the stuff. And like you said, just based on systemic, institutionalized inequality and, you know, white supremacy, those are issues that are at play in this conversation. But
and those are issues that are in play when we talk about gentrification generally. From my perspective, gentrification is an issue of economics, and it's an issue of history, of redlining, of banks not willing to loan to us, of the mass exodus of major banking institutions from our communities. So this is yet another example of what we have experienced far too long that's got to be a part of our global effort around identifying white supremacist ideology that impacts us. Gentrification and the loss of individual property ownership in our communities is yet another example.
Absolutely, and you're getting a lot of love in the comments. They're thanking you for answering these important questions. And just want to say on that last piece on this movement is I know part of the goal is we're in the middle of Los Angeles. You know, we are the crown jewel of the United States. And what we are doing here in our community can set the precedent for all minority communities, Black and brown communities all over the country, all over the world, to be self-reliant and self-determinant of their own communities, and that's what we want. So that's what the comments are saying. This is a funny thing I'm just gonna throw in there because I know you get funny questions all the time. So we happen to have a whole bunch of Ariana Grande fans on our page.
Okay.
Ariana Grande is a regular customer. Just they're asking, do you like Ariana Grande? Which I'm sure she does. Who doesn't love Ariana Grande, right?
She's a creative, she's young, she's visionary. Please don't ask me.
Yeah, that's all good. You don't have to name any of her songs. Okay. And you love her because she financially supports this Black-owned South Central-based business.
If she walked in the door right now, I would absolutely know who she is.
Absolutely.
And I'm impressed by that with my 56-year-old self.
Okay,
See,
awesome.
That's what happens when you have a Gen Z son who keeps you current.
Absolutely. Okay, back to politics. So you have been on the front lines for criminal justice reform for pretty much your entire career. And as you know, this is a hot topic here, specifically in South Central, but also on a national level. So what do you want to do with your role in LA County as the LA County Supervisor, specifically on the criminal justice reform platform?
So people, you know, are continuing to ask me, why would you leave the state Senate to go to the board, not understanding the power of LA County Board of Supervisors? You know, LA County is 10 million people, the most populous county in the country. which makes us a major player in the state of California. We are an economic engine for the state as a whole. So if we can get criminal justice right sizing right here with, in my humble opinion, a progressive district attorney, partnering with a board of supervisors that's not afraid to change course of action following research, what we know to be true and right today. This could be the example for the country. We're looking at progressive DAs all over the country that are really creating institutional structural change. And so this is an opportunity to carry the bills that created parity in sentencing between crack and powder cocaine. Proud to have carried a package of legislation, #equity and justice, that address juvenile justice reform, acknowledging that we've gotten to a place that we were criminalizing our children, where we had 15 and 16-year-olds that were tried as adults, that we didn't have a minimum age for incarceration, so we had 7-year-olds in jail. Juvenile hall is jail. We were allowing children to waive their Miranda rights. And so those were all issues that now Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara and I changed in this package of bills we carry. And so for me, policy level at the state level is important to change, to come home full-time to my home county of Los Angeles and operationalize that. I've worked with the governor around his plan to close 2 state prisons. At the state level, we have reduced the number of juveniles in the Department of Juvenile Justice, transferring them from, jail to Health and Human Services. So to make that happen at the county level, the county that's got the most kids in juvenile hall, that has the most kids in foster care of any other county in the state, is really powerful. And when I recognize that, with my home county, it's also a disproportionate number of students, of kids of color, who are impacted by these government systems, who find themselves in the juvenile justice and criminal justice system as a backstop because all these other systems have failed them. Coming home to the Board of Supervisors gives me an opportunity to have a direct...
That's, as we speak, that is my daughter calling on FaceTime, trying to get on our call now.
Ran for assembly, I ran for Stairs, largest child development agency in the country. And so I provided direct services to working families in South LA. And it's their stories and their faces that I took with me to the legislature to help me figure out how to represent them in a meaningful way, to bring resources back to our home county. I became budget chair. I chaired the budget committee for 4 years. So all of that I think has been in preparation. When I think about it, I've been in training, really, my whole professional career to be able to be a board of supervisor for the 2nd District, to fight for equity and justice.
Beautiful. And that is leading people into questioning sort of your position on the school system and education, and just exactly what you're just saying about creating more equity. My kids say all the time, why can't kids go to their local schools? Why are people going outside of the neighborhood to go to other schools? What is your thoughts on these kind of issues?
So, Crystal Stairs was founded by 2 black women, I think almost 40 years ago now, who recognized the importance of early care and education and wanted to give kids in South LA the same amazing opportunity and Head Start and Jump Start that kids in other zip codes and other regions of the city. You shouldn't have to go to the West Side to have a stellar early care and education experience. We should be able to get that in our community too, in Inglewood, in Hyde Park, in Crenshaw. And so that's really kind of my origins. How do we create a sense of equity and bring top quality institutions and a learning experience in our own community? I represent Gallup, the first LAUSD all-girls STEM Academy.
That's where both of our daughters attend.
Shut up.
That was not a setup, by the way.
It really wasn't, because I'm a Gallup fan.
Okay, good. Miss Hicks, the principal, yes.
Miss Hicks is brilliant. Miss Hicks is a perfect example of leadership. Miss Hicks was one woman who had a vision and an idea, and how she was able to navigate a bureaucracy like the 2nd largest school district in the country. I'm always amazed. It went from her bright idea to reality. I was introduced to them, got in a little situation where we had to make sure that state law allowed for a single-sex public school. I was thrilled to be able to carry that bill and get that done in the legislature. But I talk about Gala because it's in our community. It is, as I've told my colleagues in the legislature, the most ethnically and socioeconomically diverse learning environment I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because it was quality, and parents brought their girls from every corner
66 different zip codes, I believe.
Los Angeles, because of the quality of the educational experience. That can be replicated. That can be replicated everywhere.
Absolutely.
It's about leadership. Ms. Hicks had the vision, and strong leadership attracts people who share that vision. So she has attracted an amazing teaching staff and counseling staff and state senators who are their #1 cheerleaders with those fabulous purple lockers because they're doing amazing work for the future. So that's an example of a diamond in our very own community that can be replicated. Because yes, I completely agree. Our children deserve the best. If you come into my state office right now, well, you can't because of COVID, but when we open up and you can, in the Capitol or Expo Park, our mission statement for my team and I hangs on the wall. And the mission statement says we want to create a California in which all children thrive. And I've been clear, my job as a state senator is to do all that I can to make sure that every child, regardless of your zip code, has the resources you need to thrive. That's supporting Gala. That's putting funds into early care and education. That's making sure that we also talk about the other issues that impacts a child's ability to be successful, which is food security, housing security, living in communities that are safe, that have green space. All of those issues impact a child's ability to be prepared and ready and eager to learn. And so as a policymaker, I have devoted my efforts to touch on all of those issues.
Awesome. So for people just joining in, Holly's taking her mango smoothie here at South LA Cafe. This is Holly Mitchell. She is originally from our community here in South Central, resident, and she is running for the LA County Supervisor position. She has been a huge supporter of us here at South LA Cafe and our community as well. She has, I believe your office is still on Crenshaw, right?
The campaign headquarters.
The campaign headquarters is on Crenshaw. And we're covering, the bases as much as we can in the limited amount of time we have. This is not a debate. This is a conversation. And so as you're joining in, please continue to share your thoughts, your questions and comments. I did see there's lots of comments going through, and I just want to remind people, you know what, we're all family here. This has nothing to do with you, Holly, but I saw some of the people commenting on each other's comments, and I just want to make sure, we show each other mutual respect in the comments. That's what we're all about here at South LA Cafe. It's okay to have differing opinions. We don't all have to see eye to eye. We do have to show each other mutual respect, and so I would ask that you please do that in the comments. Again, not related to Holly, just related to the way a couple of comments were going back and forth to each other. So that being said, that actually leads me into public safety. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on public safety? What does reimagining public safety mean to you?
Well, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this of late, thinking about the bills I've carried, thinking about what's not happening, what's not working. And I am thrilled that we are having this community level conversation about reimagining policing. That's an important conversation to have. When I say reimagining policing, it's much like the conversations I've had for the past 10 years about right-sizing the criminal justice system and the juvenile justice system. It's about narrowing their work and the focus of their work to true law enforcement and public safety work, not social work, not mental health services, not homeless services, not placement, not foster care. We, the collective we, have dumped on the police, to be honest. That when I get constituents who call and say, there's a homeless encampment on my street, I need them gone, what do I do? And if we can't give them quick enough answers, they call the police. when kids are in foster care who the placement has failed them versus them failing the placement. And the group counselors, they're having conflict, or it's not a good placement in the foster home, people call the police. When we see someone on the street that's clearly in the middle of a mental health crisis, we call the police. So government has to stand up structures that are more appropriate to respond to those community crises. Because calling the police is not always the appropriate answer. And so we've dumped on the police, and so we failed them. So it's up to government to figure that out and to stand up systems, fund systems, equip people, hire people who are trained to intervene in those kinds of crises. That's what I fully support. Assemblymember Cindy Kamlonger introduced a bill, the Crisis Act. It passed the legislature. Unfortunately, the governor didn't sign the bill, so she'll be back at it again to make sure that the state is doing their part to fund and make these kind of services available. But you know, the other piece is, you know, we can't conflate the argument about reimagining the police with the issue of dealing with police misconduct today.
Right.
Those are two separate issues that we really have to have policies in place where we hold law enforcement accountable, that there are fair and transparent processes by which they are investigated and, when appropriate, charged and prosecuted. We're not seeing that consistently applied here or across the country, and that's tragic. And it leaves all of us unclear, afraid, and mad when we hear cases like Breonna Taylor, and we see those law enforcement officers go before a grand jury that's secretive, that's closed. I don't know about you, but I don't know that I know anybody that's ever served on a grand jury.
No.
Because we never know who they are.
Right.
And so when we don't understand why charges weren't brought, when the facts we see are so blatant,
right,
the public struggles with that. And when the public loses confidence in the men and women of law enforcement, that's when public safety is really compromised. If we don't feel confident and comfortable that when we're in trouble we can call the police and be safe and cared for, as opposed to putting our own lives at risk, that indeed calls into question true public safety. So while we want to reimagine the police and create a true appropriate response, where we want to invest in community to provide these other supports, we also have to make sure that we have practices and laws in place at every level of government, city, county, and state, and federal, that hold law enforcement accountable when they do wrong.
And absolutely, and I hear a lot of people in the comments are saying they agree with you about not wanting to have to call the police for
yes.
mental health issues,
right.
or smaller things, or even, things that are not violent issues,
yes.
but they're asking who should they call, and that's the question, and that's the thing that we don't yet have, although right. I do think that the city council just put through something just in the last week as a motion that passed, right, that at least in LA City, right,
to address this issue. And that's
right.
why I said it has to happen at every level of government. There's a bill introduced at the state level, and the county should be stepping up to do the same.
Yeah.
You're right, none of us want to call, but who else do we call?
Right, what do we do?
We have to stand up those other programs so we all have better options.
Yeah. Alini.n.j, I just want to say a lot of the issues that you're bringing up in the comments, certainly us at South LA Cafe agree with, and we did address a lot of those questions and topics earlier in the Instagram Live. So if you get a chance to watch from the beginning, I think you'll see that we talked about gentrification and the development of the mall. But yeah, just to say on that, I do think it's a really important issue. I do think there's a lot. I'm getting all these pings on my phone. And I know that for us, working and living in this community and being a predominantly Black family, we have many situations where in theory you would call the police, but we have chosen not to because we are concerned about making the situation worse.
Yes.
And my husband, Joe, is a prime example of somebody who people that don't understand these issues would say, well, of course you should call the police, and I've been with him where, situations have happened and they've come and they don't know who he is. They don't care who he is, and they're profiling and they're trained and all that kind of stuff to react a certain way. And then I'm sitting there scared to death that my husband's gonna get killed when, you know, everybody be like, but he's our local leader. He's, you know, and yeah, right. But
I mean, it was
yeah,
painful to watch the interview yesterday with Kenneth Walker, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, who said, why would I be calling 911 saying I don't know what's happening if I knew it was the police?
Right. That makes no sense.
And I appreciate that it may be difficult. I've had these conversations with my colleagues in the legislature who are not black or brown or from communities of color, who just don't understand that life experience that we have.
Yeah.
And this moment in time where the world saw a visible murder, where there was no question that Mr. Floyd was subdued, handcuffed on the ground, I think that gave other people a glimpse into the world that we live every day.
Yes. I had this exact, I'm just sidebarring for a second. I had this exact conversation with one of the newer white homeowners in the community that patronizes a cafe today. And I was talking to her about what she is just now opening her eyes to, both living in this community and with the most recent social unrest coming to light, and now it becoming a multiracial movement, which is great. But as I told her, what you're just coming to terms with, and many non-people of color or white people are now becoming exhausted in their 3 months of activism. This is the life of every single person of color or underprivileged person in our community since day one, and for 10, 15 generations since the conception of our country. So
there's a new documentary out that I happened to catch on PBS that talks about what led to the passage of Prop 13 and who got angry.
Yeah.
It was white homeowners in the Valley, Sacramento Valley, who looked at their tax bills and said, wait, what am I paying for? I'm paying for, inner city schools and all these programs that came out of the 60s and early 70s. It's an amazing documentary called The First Angry Man about Howard Jarvis, who started Prop 13. But they tie it into the racial unrest of the 60s.
Wow.
And it's got beautiful archival footage. And there's a snapshot of a brother being interviewed during the Watts Rebellion who just says, we are tired of white people taking advantage of us. And I thought, fast forward to the 92 unrest, fast forward to now.
Yeah.
When are we going to learn the true lesson as a country, course correct and fix it, as opposed to continuing to repeat history?
Yes.
I mean, when you see that image, he could be out on King Boulevard marching today.
Yes. Well, and I just want to say thank you for being so vocal and so forthright and willing to say things that maybe a lot of other politicians are not willing to say. For me, it's why I have chosen to vote for you personally. Ever since I've known you, you've and followed your career, you've been willing to stick your neck out. You say the hard things, and I really truly believe that your heart is in the right place and that you're down for our community, but also communities like ours all over the world. And so I'm so excited that you're running. We need change. We need people like you that are gonna dig in and do the hard work and talk about the hard conversations, because in the comments, this is what people are talking about. This is what they want. And I know we represent a specific slice of the pie, but we do represent the Black and brown community in Los Angeles and the people that are on the more progressive side of politics. And so if that's who you are watching it, you probably want to vote for Holly. I can't tell you who to vote for, but it looks like people are saying they're voting for you, so that's good.
Well, and let me say this, I appreciate the votes because I really want to win, because I want to continue our partnership, because it's not, you can't do it by yourself. You and your partner can't do it by yourself. This is an opportunity for government and business and nonprofits for us all to come together to bring our slices together to really create substantive change in our community. But let me say this election season is critically important. So in my humble opinion, no one gets to be on IG and make comments if you're not willing to step up and do the hard work and vote today, which you can, or November 3rd.
Absolutely.
Too many people in my sphere, when I think about Ella Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer and all of those sisters who sacrificed in a way that we probably cannot understand today, in terms of their livelihood, their property, their physical health, to earn the right for us to vote. They were paying it forward. They were clear. And while horses couldn't keep me from the polling place election day, for the mere fact that I know that lives were lost to allow me to have that fundamental right, and to understand that people in elected office have impact on every aspect of my life every day, from the DA to these ballot initiatives, from Prop 16 where we can reverse 209, from Proposition 15 that will, make sure corporations pay their fair share in taxes. We're not trying to dump on corporations. Corporations just pay their fair share so we can have the investment in our schools and everything that we need in our communities. To Prop 17, to allow parolees the fundamental right to vote. These are all initiatives that everyone has to do their own research and figure out what they think is best, but we cannot pass up on the opportunity to stand up and represent and pay it forward like the previous generation did for me. I have to pay it forward for the next generation.
Amen. And everybody who's listening in to Holly, go to the link in our bio when we stop this live. Right in there, you can go to the Plan Your Vote website, as well as in a minute, I'm going to let Holly tell you where to go find her and learn more about her platform. But as you guys know that follow us on South LA Cafe, we've been talking for months now about getting ready to vote, and now is the time to make a plan if you have not already figured out. They say if you make a plan, you're 20% more likely to actually vote. So please go plan your vote out, meaning check if you're registered. If you're not registered, register. If you are registered, check your registration. Make sure it's correct. You have got to sign your name the way that your name shows on your registration and on your ballot. And right now you can register. Right now they're starting early voting. Soon there will be early in-person voting, and we have to come out in full force as if our life depends on it.
Because it does.
It does. I just want to say lyrical_queen1 is saying that Larry worked with you for 20 years. He loves you. He was a deputy mayor back in the day. And they also want to say, he always said how powerful you are, and that Crystal Stairs helped them when you were the VP of the Black Caucus. Okay, right. So you got fans in the comments there. We are running out of time. So if you're listening in, oh, here comes Joe. He wants us to look at voting again. Here we go. All right.
Yeah. Oh my God, the flag.
Yes, my mother brought that for us.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So we're running out of time, folks, here. I just want to say, if you have any final thoughts, let us know in the comments. Otherwise, Holly, tell people how to find you, how to learn more about your platform. Hopefully, listening to this interview has helped them make a decision one way or the other about how they want to vote on the LA County Supervisor position. But if they still want to do more research, where can they go?
Holly J. Mitchell on all social media platforms. HollyJMitchell.com is the campaign website. And also, I still have a day job. I'm a state senator. So you can go to me and look at the state Senate website. And we have a full page of resources around COVID relief in English and Spanish. You can read about some of the bills I talked about. The campaign website is HollyJMitchell.com. And again, Holly J. Mitchell on all Facebook, Twitter, IG.
Awesome. We love you. We wish you the best. We can't wait to see you win.
Thank you.
All right, here we go.
Cheers.